They say you can't buy loyalty. But on the night I stepped between a billionaire and a bullet, I didn't think about money. I thought about the little girl inside me who learned to protect everyone but herself. This is how a white man with everything taught me I deserved protection too. Before we start, if you believe in stories about everyday heroes finding unexpected love, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling me, have you ever protected someone and it changed your life? Stay until the end, because this story gets real and the ending will surprise you. My name is Brianna Cole, and I'm 32 years old. For the last 6 years, I've worked night security at Crown Tower in downtown. You know the type of building, all glass and steel, where people in expensive suits rush past you like you're invisible. And most days, that's exactly what I was. Invisible. Just another black woman in a navy uniform, checking badges and walking rounds, my feet aching in boots that needed replacing 2 months ago. I'm a single mom. My son Trevor just turned 8, and he's the reason I show up to that job every night, even when exhaustion sits in my bones like lead. His father left when Trevor was 2, decided fatherhood wasn't for him, and I haven't heard from him since. So it's been me and my boy, living in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment where the heat barely works in winter. I'm not complaining. I built this life from nothing, pulled myself up from foster care, and 3 jobs at once. But I was tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. Security work is strange. You're there to protect people, but they look right through you. You're part of the furniture, part of the building. I'd watch hundreds of people pass through those lobby doors every day, and maybe 3 would make eye contact. That was my normal. Until Christopher Hayes noticed me. Christopher Hayes. You've probably heard of him. Billionaire tech CEO, 45 years old, his company occupying half of Crown Tower. The man was always in the tabloids, brilliant, driven, and going through a messy divorce that had reporters camped outside the building for weeks. He worked late every single night. I'd see him come down at 2, 3 in the morning, tie loosened, looking like he carried the weight of the world. Most rich people? They don't see you. But about 3 months before everything changed, Christopher started saying good evening. Started asking how my shift was going. I figured he was just being polite, the way some people are raised. But then, one Thursday night, around midnight, he came down with 2 coffees. Set one on my desk, said, "You looked tired. Thought you could use this." I almost cried. Such a small thing, but when you're invisible, being seen feels like everything. We started talking. Real talking. Not small talk about weather or sports, but actual conversations. He'd sit in that lobby for 20, 30 minutes some nights. Told me about his twin daughters, how they were 10 years old and living with his ex-wife, how he was terrified he was losing them because he'd worked too much, loved them too little in the ways that mattered. I told him about Trevor, about raising a black boy in this world and trying to teach him to be strong but soft, proud but careful. We talked about exhaustion, about dreams we'd put on hold, about what it costs to keep surviving. I felt something growing between us, but I kept my walls up. Had to. Because men like Christopher Hayes don't end up with women like me. That's just reality. He existed in penthouses and boardrooms. I existed in break rooms with flickering lights, eating dollar store ramen. Our worlds didn't overlap, except in that lobby, past midnight, when everything felt possible. Then came the night that split my life into before and after. It was a Tuesday. Cold rain hammering the windows, the kind of October night that seeps into your bones. I was doing my usual rounds when I saw a man enter through the side door. White guy, early 30s, wearing a heavy coat despite being indoors. Something felt wrong immediately. The way he moved. The way his right hand stayed in his pocket. Security is about instinct, and mine was screaming. He headed straight for the elevators, to the executive floors. Christopher's floor. I didn't think. I just moved. Called out, "Sir, the building's closed. I need to see your badge." He turned, and that's when I saw his face. Rage, pure rage, and his hand came out of that pocket holding a gun. Time does this weird thing in moments like that. It slows down and speeds up at once. I heard him saying something about Christopher, about being fired, about ruining his life. The gun was pointed at the elevator, but I was already stepping between him and those doors. My body became a shield without my brain deciding to do it. That's what protectors do. We don't choose. We just act. I talked to him, kept my voice steady even though my heart was trying to punch through my ribs. Told him I understood being angry, being hurt, feeling invisible. Told him this wasn't the answer. Told him I had a son who needed his mama to come home. The gun wavered. Security backup was coming. I could hear sirens in the distance. And somehow he lowered that weapon. Collapsed crying. Let me take it from his shaking hands. Police came, arrested him, took my statement while I sat there trembling, trying to hold myself together. Christopher came running down, face white as paper. The shooter had been heading for him, specifically for him. And I'd stopped it, saved his life. But in that moment, sitting in the back of an ambulance with a blanket around my shoulders, all I could think was, I'm alive. Trevor still has his mama. The media went crazy. Hero security guard saves billionaire CEO. My face was everywhere. Reporters outside my apartment at Trevor's school, calling my phone non-stop. I hated it, hated every second of it. I wasn't a hero. I was just a woman who did her job. But everyone wanted to make it into something bigger, something dramatic. They wanted me to be grateful for the attention. I just wanted my privacy back. Christopher visited me at the hospital. I'd been treated for minor cuts and shock. Nothing serious, but he showed up with flowers and this look on his face like he didn't know what to say. He tried to thank me, tried to offer me money, a reward, compensation for putting my life on the line. And I snapped, told him I didn't do it for money, told him I was just doing my job and I didn't need his charity. The words came out harder than I meant them, but I was raw, exposed. And I needed my walls back up. He left, didn't push. And I thought that was the end of it. Rich man, working class woman, a dramatic moment, then back to our separate worlds. But Christopher Hayes doesn't give up easy. A week later, there was a knock on my apartment door. I opened it, and there he stood, jeans and a sweater, looking nervous. Trevor peeked around my legs, all curious eyes, and Christopher smiled at him. Asked if he liked chess. My son lit up, said he'd always wanted to learn, and before I knew it, Christopher was sitting on my threadbare couch teaching my baby how knights move. Watching them together did something to my heart I wasn't ready for. When Trevor went to bed, Christopher and I sat in my tiny kitchen. He told me he'd set up a fund for Trevor's education. Full ride to any private school, college paid for, everything. I lost it. Told him I didn't need saving. That I'd been taking care of us, just fine, on my own. That I wasn't some charity case for him to feel good about. All my pride, all my pain, everything I'd been holding in just poured out. And he listened. Didn't interrupt, didn't defend himself, just listened. Then he said something I'll never forget. You're right. You don't need saving. But Brianna, why is it wrong for me to want to help? Not because I pity you, because I care about you, because you saved my life, and I'm watching you work yourself to death. Let me be your friend. That's all I'm asking, I cried. Right there at my kitchen table, I broke down and cried. Told him things I'd never told anyone. About growing up in foster care. About learning young that nobody was coming to save me, so I had to save myself. About building this life from absolute nothing and being so afraid that one wrong move would make it all crumble. About feeling like I had to be strong all the time, had to be the protector, had to have all the answers. And how tired I was, how bone-deep exhausted. He cried too. Told me about his divorce. About how his ex-wife said he chose work over family, and she was right. About his daughters looking at him like a stranger. About having all the money in the world but feeling completely alone. We sat there in my dim kitchen, two broken people, and something shifted. Something real. We started spending time together. Real time. He'd come over and play with Trevor, teach him chess and math tricks. I'd give him advice about his daughters, help him write texts that didn't sound like business emails. We'd go to the park, get pizza from the corner spot, take Trevor to the arcade. Nothing fancy. Nothing that felt like he was trying to impress me with his money. Just simple. Just us. I met his daughters. Twin girls, beautiful and smart and so guarded. They were suspicious of me at first. Another woman in their dad's life, trying to replace their mother. But I didn't try to be their mum. I just tried to be real with them. We'd talk about school, about their interests, about how divorce is hard and confusing, and it's okay to be angry. Slowly, they warmed up, started asking when they'd see me again. For 2 months, we built something. Christopher and I were dancing around what we both felt, but it was there. In the way he looked at me. In the way I caught myself thinking about him at random moments. In the way Trevor started calling him Chris, said he wished he could be around more. We were becoming something, a family maybe, and it terrified me. Then reality came crashing in. His business partners pulled him aside, told him a relationship with me was bad for optics. His ex-wife threatened to fight for full custody if he was involved with inappropriate people. My co-workers started gossiping, some jealous, some concerned I was getting in over my head. The media got wind of us spending time together. Suddenly, cameras were everywhere again, articles speculating about the billionaire and his security guard, some sweet, some cruel. People questioned my motives, called me a gold digger, said I was using my hero status to trap a rich man. I pulled away, stopped answering Christopher's calls, made excuses when he wanted to visit, because deep down I believed them, believed I wasn't enough, that I'd never fit in his world, that eventually he'd wake up and realize he could have any woman, educated, polished, sophisticated women who knew which fork to use at fancy dinners. Why would he choose me? A security guard with a high school diploma and stretch marks and a past full of struggle? We fought. He showed up at my apartment demanding to know why I was shutting him out. I told him the truth. Told him I was scared. Scared of not being enough, of him realizing I didn't belong, of Trevor getting attached and then losing another father figure. Told him our worlds were too different, that this was a nice fantasy, but fantasy doesn't survive in reality. He looked at me like I'd stabbed him. Then he said, "You saved my life, Brianna. You literally threw your body between me and a bullet. But you won't let me save yours. Not with money. I know you don't want that. With love. You won't let me love you. And I do. I love you. I love your strength and your pride and the way you love your son. I love how you see through all my walls. I love who I am when I'm with you. But you're so busy protecting everyone else, you won't let anyone protect your heart." I couldn't breathe. Nobody had ever fought for me like that. Nobody had ever seen past my armor to the scared girl underneath. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But the fear was so loud. He left, told me he'd wait, that whenever I was ready, he'd be there. But he couldn't force me to trust him. That was my choice. I spent 3 days spiraling, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Trevor kept asking why Chris didn't come over anymore, and I had no good answer. Finally, my neighbour, this older black woman who'd lived in the building forever, sat me down. She said, "Baby, I've watched you these years, working yourself to the bone, never asking for help, never letting anyone in. You think that's strength. But real strength? That's letting someone love you even when you're scared. That man looks at you like you hung the moon. Don't let fear steal your blessing." Something broke open in me. All these years, I'd been so focused on protecting everyone else, Trevor, the people in that building, myself from hurt. But I'd built walls so high I'd locked out love too. Christopher was right. I wasn't letting anyone protect my heart, because that meant being vulnerable. That meant admitting I couldn't do everything alone. That meant trusting someone not to leave. I called him, asked him to come over. When he walked in, I didn't have any speech prepared. I just said, I'm scared. I've never had someone fight for me before. I don't know how to let you in. But I want to try. If you're still willing to wait while I figure this out, I want to try." He pulled me into his arms, and I let myself break. Let myself be held. Let myself be protected for once. Christopher made a public statement the next week, defended our relationship, told the world that real wealth wasn't in bank accounts but in finding someone who sees you, really sees you, past the money and the status. He stepped back from day-to-day CEO duties to focus on his family, his daughters, and me and Trevor. There was backlash, lost some business partnerships, but he didn't flinch. I accepted the security director position he'd been offering, not as a favor, but because I'd earned it. I was good at my job. I took it on my terms, started therapy to work through childhood wounds I'd been carrying. Slowly, carefully, we built our relationship, built trust. His daughters came around, started asking me for advice, letting me braid their hair. Trevor flourished with a stable father figure, someone who showed up consistently. 6 months later, we're living together. A blended family, messy and imperfect and real. I still work security part-time because it's who I am. But now I have a partner who sees my worth, who protects my heart the way I protect everyone else, who teaches me that accepting love isn't weakness, it's the bravest thing you can do. So that's my story. The night I protected a billionaire, I had no idea he'd end up protecting something far more valuable, my heart. I learned that strength isn't refusing help. It's accepting love even when you're terrified. It's letting someone see your scars and trusting they won't run. Love doesn't care about bank accounts or social status when it's real. And I'm still that girl who steps between danger and the people she loves. I just don't leave myself out anymore. If this story touched you, show some love with a like and subscribe. It helps more than you know. Comment below. What's the bravest thing you've done for love? And remember, wherever you are in life, whatever you're carrying, you deserve someone who protects your heart the way you protect everyone else. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay strong and stay loved.